Yo, what is up guys, it's your boy Shieldcoomer aka Sirigath, and in this video we're going to be covering Halls of Valor 20 on Tyrannical. So, you know, I already put up the fortified video and now we're gonna put up Tyrannical. The reason why I like to do both is simply because I really feel like these are two completely different like skill sets required for progressing these keys and stuff. So build is same actually, the both builds I've used, and also I've messed up that's I didn't really realize what I wanted to do, so that looked kind of silly of me, but they actually managed to recover it pretty well, so kudos to them. I was down to die and just release, but they managed to save me, so that's really nice. But yeah, this was a wake which was quite annoying to play. Like Spiteful, Quaking, pretty tricky combination in terms of spacing. Luckily, I think in this particular key, I don't think it's that big of a problem, these two affixes. So this was quite good affixes for the Halls of Valor. The reason is because in Halls of Valor, for the most part, like, of course, this is only like a limited statement, but you do have a bit of space to work with, so that's nice. And here I try to balance the ad and I get locked, of course. Oh god, it makes me angry just looking back at it. But no, Spiteful is actually kind of nice. I don't mind Spiteful that much. I think people like, I get Spiteful is annoying, especially for melees. I understand. I mean, I used to play melee when I played Holy Pala. Spiteful was absolutely dreadful to play. But just in general, I feel like it's one of those affixes which can actually like give you a damage boost if played properly and stuff like that, which is obviously extremely valuable in these scenarios. So, you know, something to consider. Certain classes, I'm pretty sure, gain resources from killing the ghosts and stuff, so there's that. Anyhow, obviously, boss. Honestly, this might be like a boss that you don't even lost. You probably lost the first pull on Tyrannical, because this boss does nothing. I'm assuming at some point, going high enough, like the damage scale of the AoE, it's undodgeable, right? But in that case, you just have to kind of like have enough versatility and avoidance, and that's about it. Like, you as a healer, you know, if people die to one shots, that's usually not on you. Like, you can prevent it if you can predict it, but I feel like this is more like a conversation for like pre-made groups and stuff, you know, where somebody needs to call out for like, you know, external rotation and something. In pugs, you're probably not gonna have this level of coordination. Now you can talk with your team. People usually learn how this works, you know. I remember like on bosses which were almost impossible to heal, like you know, from season 2, 3, 4 and stuff like that. You had like these bosses which would just slam you with like AoE that was unstoppable damage and whatnot. So you can always assign like a rotation of immunities or big defensives, and nowadays we have 2 pin subs, so we can definitely work with that. And here I went into like this was like a panic mode kind of thing. I got confused because they weren't moving, honestly. Like they scared me. I thought they, you know, I thought they would pre-move to where we were supposed to be, so I was like, why is nobody moving? And then I was like looking, you know, to make sure I'm not the crazy one. But it turned out everybody was like fully aware and handling it properly, and you can see like the only actually like difficult, if we can even call it difficult, scenarios in this particular boss is when you're faced with like bad like these like swirling blades, and then you also have to run away from the dragon, so you gotta squeeze in between the tornadoes and the whirling blades. This is why I think as a range, it's probably best to bait at the end. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe somebody else knows like a better strat. But you can see here, like, even if he hits you with this, he doesn't kill you. This boss just feels severely undertuned, and it's one of those bosses where I feel like it's just like a target dummy a little bit. It's very boring boss, personally. I feel like it it could use like one extra ability that's at least a little bit more interesting, but you know, we'll take it. This boss is this dungeon is filled with difficult bosses, so you know, I'll take an easy one, you know. I feel like it's totally fair that if a dungeon has five bosses, that one or two of them are a little bit on the easier side. Because here I feel like there's the other bosses are also kind of straightforward, maybe not necessarily easy. I mean, Hyrja is potentially is that how you pronounce her name? Like the second boss on the left. It's potentially one of the hardest bosses to heal in this entire expansion. Maybe together with, I don't know, what else is that difficult? It maybe Nokun offensive second boss during storms. Yeah, coincidentally both times it's the storms. Would you look at that? But no, these two are an absolute menace to heal. Definitely very tricky. There's other difficult stuff like Nokun offensive fourth boss as well during intermission. Costs on last boss can be a bit tricky. You know, stuff like that. Like there's definitely tricky parts, but as long as you have a plan and you know what you're doing, I think you'll be fine for the most part. And here the rogue was in a little bit of a trouble, but we got him dispelled on time. I'm actually surprised he didn't cloak. He had faith in me, I guess. I would have cloaked there. I definitely would have cloaked. But yeah, he was fine. It is not fortified at the end of the day, so maybe understandable. But yeah, on these specs, what you want to pay attention to, even on a tyrannical week, what you want to pay attention to is these breach armors and mortal hues. They really hurt. Obviously don't get one shot by mortal hue. And obviously take care of your tank. Your tank will need your help with the reduced armor. It's just something to keep in mind. Obviously, if you're tracking debuffs, you're already aware of this, and you should if you're not. But if you aren't for some reason, just be aware that their tanks will have like a very big armor reduction, and they will need like a little bit of an external help to survive. They'll need a little bit more healing than usual, and they will need a little bit more DR damage reduction if you can provide it. If your class can provide it. Obviously, if you're playing disc, we have many tools for that. We have pain stop, we have barrier, we have shields. But if you're playing some other spec and you're watching this video for some reason, you know, look up what your class can do for tanks. You know, obviously as a healer, I think one of the main points you should have for yourself, right, is how to keep your tank alive. So probably one of the main purposes of healing in dungeons is that exactly. So, you know, you gotta do your research, you gotta find the abilities, you know, what is it for, like Resto Druid? It's like the Iron Bark and the thingy you put on the tank and stuff like that. For Evokers, it's Time Dilation, stuff like that, right? And then you have Guardian Spirit for Holy Priest, you have... Shamans don't really have much, but they do have like Earth Shield they can put on you. I don't know if they still play that. Like, don't trust me on Shamans. I have not played Shamans this expansion at all. And Holy Paladin will always have Beacon, and they also have Sack and Bop and stuff like that. So, you know, there are tools to deal with things. You just need to be aware of when you need to use them, and you should be fine. Right, so in preparation for the boss, a couple of things you really need to be aware of is you absolutely need to make sure you are saving your cooldowns for this boss. This is why you might see me here being kind of reserved with my CDs. There's also a secret tech here. I don't know if that, like, it's kind of tricky to do. People on high keys do it, where the tank will, with his positioning on the boss, he will make like one of the storms basically do no damage. Personally, I'm not also like 100% sure exactly how it works, but you can look it up. You can like maybe find a way to do it. But as you can see, like to heal this, you will need like a strong burst of like 70-80k HPS. It is not easy.
Eye of the storm.
As I said, it's potentially one of the more challenging things to heal in this whole expansion. So just make sure that you have some CDs saved up for that. What I recommend is I would probably save both penances, sorry, not both penances, both radiances, and I would have a dark, a harsh discipline ready for that giga penance, and shadow covenant. So you want to pre-shield with rupture, and then you want to throw radiance. In that case is obviously used for healing, not for atonements, so don't do it before the damage comes out. So I would like throw schism right before the damage happens. Like ideally it hits on the first tick, but obviously like I understand that in a stressful scenarios, you know, it's not always easy to get these timings like in a second correct, but you know, do your best. Obviously as you get more comfortable doing this, you'll probably do better as well. So we'll see how I handle it here, but I'm telling you, like in theory, how the best way to handle it is just saving both of your radiances for healing, obviously rupture for shields. Then you want to throw schism as the first tick is happening, and then you want to shadow covenant, give it that huge penance. Hopefully people are stacked so you can shoot your star, and then you can do like another radiance. And let's see what I'm doing here. Yeah, I'm late with shields here already, and then we do the big penance, shadow covenant. Yeah, that was okay. That looked okay. What is that? Almost 100k HPS. Yeah, and we could do better there. We could definitely do better. There's definitely room for improvement there in that compartment, but it works, and that's important. So here you might see me be a little bit conservative with my stuff, and again, this is because this part really requires not much healing, provided people play cleanly. This circle thingy, it hurts quite a bit. Obviously don't get hit by frontal, so make sure you heal people up that are getting hit by this, including yourself. I might actually pop a defensive here. Yeah, I popped a desperate prayer there because I was a little bit scared. And this one might get dicey, but I have barrier here, and this is like the crucial component of like what we're doing. We're throwing in the schism, and then we have a huge penance, divine star, and look at the work the barrier is doing. This ability is so good. Honestly, like mastering this, and I'm not saying I'm a master by any means, but I'd say I'm pretty good, especially in dungeons. Like learning to use your barrier is so important, and learning to have it for the important parts. And it's also tricky with bugs, because bugs don't always like, honestly, going high enough to like high enough level, people usually understand the importance of barrier. But at times, and this was terrifying by the way, I think both me and Tank tried to move. I'm not even sure how that didn't hit me. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't hit at all. I don't know actually. I've never been hit by it, so I wouldn't know. But yeah, here another like Eye of the Storm, and I'm late here. You can see I'm struggling, like I'm late. I'm putting shields now, and then I pop the healing potion. And this is just, we're just being super late. But it still works. That's the crazy part. Like it will still work, provided people are tanky enough and stuff. You know, if they're smart with their defensives, you can still get by. I was asking him to use Innervate. Okay, that's... Oh, I remember this dungeon now. Wait, I couldn't remember any of this, to be honest, until this. Now I remember. This was such a weird dungeon. And this guy just refused to innervate me. Like, yeah, PSA to all, like, public service announcement to all the druids, please, guys, if you're playing with a disc priest,
Holy Radiance,
Holy Priest too, obviously, but especially if you're playing with a disc priest, for the love of everything that's holy, please innervate us on cooldown pretty much. Ideally, you make a macro and you ask for it when you need it, because obviously it will gain much more value that way. But even like if they're not asking, just like give us that innervate, because we need it, bro. We need it so bad. Like, it's a struggle. It's a struggle. I did get Mythic Chill Globe recently, so that's pretty cool. It does help quite a lot. It's also good damage, by the way. It's pretty good. It's like off of the global CD, like 60. No, it's more. It's 100k damage to a single target. It's pretty good. Pretty good. It's like a pretty strong button to press. And then if you're low on mana, you just get mana back. It's even better. So really good item for us. I'd highly recommend using it. Maybe in dungeons it's not that good. I'm kind of 50-50 on it. It's definitely good in raids, but in dungeons, like, the problem with it is like it doesn't get a lot of passive value. So unless you use it really good, it drops off quite hard. So like I wonder how it would compare DPS wise to something like Raging Feather from Nokund or something like that. Because I don't have that item, for example, and I really want to get it, and I want to like get it to 415 and just see how it compares to some of these other trinkets I've used in terms of damage. That'll be interesting to see, because what has traditionally been the way to play the game in the higher keys, the higher you go, like you start dropping, it sounds surprising, but you start dropping like healing things and you kind of focus more on damage things, because the more you push, the more things one shot, and execution will matter way more than your healer's output for the most part. And that is something to keep in mind, you know. It's definitely, it's kind of like a weird concept, because you'd think that, you know, the higher you push, the more healing you need, and that is true. But as you're pushing, people realize that they also need higher versatility, more avoidance, leech, and all these things, and they learn to use defensives much better, because they know that if they don't, they will die to one shots. So basically any sort of damage like becomes more important to mitigate it and to heal it. Of course, you still need to have good healing, because there are certain things that just can't be avoided, certain AoEs like thunders, claps, stuff like that. Like, great example of this is like Ruby Life Pool. At the end of the day, the second boss here, which we just beat, and stuff like that. So there's definitely a lot of room for, you know, healing. I'm not saying it's irrelevant, but it becomes less important in a sense where you're optimizing more for damage and just for like speed and survivability in terms of like not getting one shot, rather than just pure HPS output. You know, HPS, it's not really like a strong indicator of anything. Of course you should track it and stuff like that, so you can learn. Like, to me the most important part about tracking HPS is so you can compare it to like others that play your spec that are approximately at your, like, let's say, eye level and stuff. Like, obviously don't compare it to somebody who's like 5 eye levels ahead of you, because in most cases they will just like, there's I don't know, scaling in this expansion has been weird. Like, even 2 eye levels overall mean a lot, I feel like. I don't know what you guys think, let me know in the comments, but I strongly feel like scaling this expansion has been great. Like, getting upgrades actually feels like you're so much stronger, which just feels amazing. I really like it, actually. I remember in Shadowlands a lot of the times I would get items and I wouldn't even notice. Like, it's like, okay, I'd notice like haste, but I wouldn't notice intellect. I wouldn't notice crit that much. This expansion I really do. Like, I get like a different item for the off piece, which isn't even an upgrade, just different secondaries, and I feel like that difference is like crazy. Which obviously means you can optimize for whatever you want to optimize for. That is ultimately the goal. Right, so with these wolves here, you want to be very careful. There's a trick here that you can do. I mean, it's kind of cheesy, but as far as I know, it's legal, quote unquote. Basically, what it does is... hold Hopefully I'll root them anytime now. Like, oh my god, this was before I even knew about this route. So basically, what you can do here is you can use void tendrils, and these dogs won't even jump until the void tendrils are broken. And they used to be bugged until recently, where they couldn't even be broken, so you could just like ignore the dogs completely and just kill them. So people would do like triple pulls. So what people usually do nowadays is, unless this got fixed somehow without me noticing, you can get on there's like these little, what do you call them, like pillars on the right. It's behind now, you can't see it here, but they're there and you can climb on them. Hopefully I'll do one key where I'll show you that. Actually, I really hope I'll get to do holes soon, so I can show you guys what I mean. You can probably find it somewhere else as well and just Google it or something, but basically everybody stacks on that and tank just pulls and you just kill them. And the dogs, for some reason, when they jump, they can't reach you there, because, you know, elevation is kind of weird in WoW. There's a couple of these, in a couple of these dungeons, there's tricks where you can stand at a different elevation than the damage is, and you can just not take any damage. And it's it's just kind of like cheating, honestly, but you know, it works, I guess. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, honestly. I enjoy it. I enjoy it. I like these, how do you put them? Like, I prefer to play without any cheeses, but I like when there are certain things you can do that make dungeons more doable, as long as it's not something that's like game breaking, I guess. Anyway, this boss is very scary, by the way. You really need to be careful with this boss. On this, it's not easy to kill this. As you move forward, especially in the key level, it's very tough. Luckily here, people were really good with the stealth, so they evaded most of the dots. So look at my mana, like I've barely spent any. It was really cool. But normally, if your team is not that great at dodging the dots, this is really hard. Like when he does this claw strike, and then like you get AoE, and then everybody gets clapped, and then God forbid somebody has 2 stacks somehow. Oof, it gets so difficult. And here I almost killed us by not being in the AoE. I was just like, kind of, honestly, just kind of trying to heal up everything and make sure we're ready for that, but it came sooner than I anticipated, so anyhow, it worked out pretty well. Like, you know, doing 34k HPS on the boss is pretty good on a Tyrannical week, like in the sense of like we didn't take much damage, so there wasn't much healing needed. So yeah, and our damage was also pretty decent, 26k. You know, it's not the best, not the worst either. Here's some wolf action. Actually, these are not wolves, these are bears. Why did I say wolves? Some bear action. Here you really need to pay attention to the tank. This was a mistake by me, by the way. This is something I've learned later after this video. This video was recorded like, I don't know, like 10 days ago or something, compared to when I'm uploading it. So basically
5, 4.
Basically, and you can see void tendrils here. Like, look at how strong this spell is. And it used to be unbreakable. It was a bug. Now it can be broken, but it's still strong. I still highly recommend using it and playing with it and see what it can do. But basically, tank will get clapped here. These guys just hit hard. That's all they do. They just smash your tank really hard. So make sure you have like at least 1 pain sub and barrier for the tank. If you don't have barrier because you used it on a boss, that is okay. But make sure you use your buffed shields on the tank. So after your penance, you have a buffed shield. Make sure you're using it on the tank. It will help a lot. It will definitely help him survive and make things easier. And here we just went for like a bull. I think we'll pull some stags with it as well. I don't really think this pull is that great. I feel like there are better percentages to get, but you know, some people prefer to do this. That is completely fine. The reason I don't like these stags is because I think their charge is basically kind of like a one-shot, or at least it used to be. I don't know if it still is, you know, now that people have gotten gear. But I remember like the last time I pulled stags, 2 people got one shot and it was just a disaster, and we lost like so much time doing this. And they also give like so little percentage. What do they give, like 0.30 or something? It's like, it's ridiculous. It's good to fix these like small percentage offsets though, you know. If you just need like 1 or 2 more mobs, they're good to get, I suppose. Better than pulling like a pack that gives, you know, more but it's harder to do, so you'll just lose time. I think we're probably skipping here. Hopefully we get shrouded. Yeah, we get shrouded, and then we just go. Yeah, nice. Got the beers, got everything, and it's time to fight the King's guards. Which brings us back to this. So basically these guys, there's this like beer trick you can do here. So basically the way it works is you grab the beer, you will get like an action, like extra action button bar, and you go to one king, you throw the beer on him, and then you go talk to the other king and you drag the king you activated by talking to the king you activated by beer. So basically you get to fight 2 targets at once, provided you do it properly. And then you will fight like 2 sets of 2 instead of 1, 1, 2, which should in theory save you some time. Either way, it's definitely a time save, regardless like of your damage profile. Obviously some groups are better at like cleaving 2 targets, some groups are worse, but in theory, no matter what comp you're running, it should provide you more damage. For sure, so just something to keep in mind. It's kind of wasteful not to do it, especially since Halls of Valor is already like so tight on time because of all the walking around and RPing and stuff. You definitely want to find all the time saves you can possibly find. These guys are pretty straightforward, by the way. This dot actually hurts a little bit. However, as long as you're like keeping up atonement on the people that are dotted up and you're, you know, occasionally heal the tank up, you should be fine. Just maximize your DPS, you know how it goes, guys. Make sure you're mixing up your you know, holy shadow spells to trigger that Twilight Equilibrium. This pack is so much fun because even like in situations like this, there's so much for you to like think about, and this does get tiring a little bit at times, you know. Sometimes I wish I was just an evoker that's pressing, you know, his living flame over and over again and using my fire breath, you know. But it's the fun of playing this realistically, you know. You get to be like cool if you do good, and if you suck, then you can just blame it on your spec, you know. That's that's the fun. It's what I do, at least. Worked so far for me, you know. If I do bad, I just say, well, the spec is dog shit. You shouldn't have invited Disc in the first place. But you know, if I do good, then, you know, people message me after the key and they go like, oh my god, you did so good job, I didn't know Disc is so good. And then I go like, ha ha ha, baby girl, Disc isn't good, it's just I am good. Winky face. I'm joking, by the way. No, Disc is completely fine at the moment. We are very, I think it's a very balanced spec. It's like not top in anything, but it's not bottom in anything either. We're just very like mid of the pack right now. The only problem with that is like it's harder to execute our spec for the most part. So if you simply enjoy playing Disc, it's a good spec for you at the moment. If you don't, I would actually recommend playing something else, because I don't know, man. Like, I tried, like, I'm trying Druid and Evoker at the moment. My Druid is still a baby boy, so I don't know how easy it will be to push like serious keys with him. But I've slowly like doing all 20s with Evoker, and I genuinely am doing them so effortlessly. Like when I'm playing this, I need to be focused. I need to be in there, even for a simple 20. Like that isn't even a push, like a weekly 20 that I'm trying to time. I still need focus. Whereas with Evoker, bro, it's just, you're just chilling, man. Like we have so many buttons to press. You just do not care. You do not care. You have Stacies. Man, I confuse their abilities because everything is called Breath, but you have like the green Breath, you have the Blossom, you can make it instant, you can time dilate, you can dispel diseases, bleeds, you can normal dispel, you can the verdant embrace or whatever it's called, the one where you fly to an ally and you heal both of you and then you split the HP and stuff. Like, it's crazy how good the spec is. It's just so strong. I really hope they don't nerf Evoker too much. As much as annoying as it is that it's, you know, like a new class and like you know, like, ooh, new class, it's gonna be overpowered. I really feel like they're fairly overpowered. Like, they're not completely bonkers broken, you know, like they're, especially after the nerf, like, and after some other specs got buffed, I feel like they're kind of fine to an extent.
5.
I still feel like they have like a lot of buttons to press, but I like that. I think their buttons are like smart buttons, you know what I mean?
Savage Blade.
Like, you can't give some dummy Evoker and tell him heal this 20. You know, make a gear character, give some noob like Evoker and tell him to heal at 20. They won't be able to, because you actually need to know how to play Evoker. That's my point. Like, you need to press your buttons in a correct way. And I mean, of course, like, it's not, well, once again, it's not like it's compared to, you know, some other specs, it's simple, but I feel like that's fair. As I said, I think like they're like strong but fair strong. Anyway, about this boss, like, honestly, there's nothing to say about this boss. I mean, like, heal dot, get behind shield when the Ragnarok is coming. Don't like quaking your teammates. Don't do this. Don't move when you get a circle. That's bad. That's a bad rogue. He's not actually bad. I don't mean that. Like, I'm just saying, like, that was a bad move. Usually when you get mechanics like this, it's best for you to stand still and let others move away. But basically, this is just, guys, this is just like, it's a very straightforward boss. I really don't know what to say. Like, if you guys are struggling with something on this boss, ask me in comments. But it's just pretty straightforward. Right, and last but not the least, we have an actual difficult boss, Odyn. Ideally, you want to bait spears here where I am, or on the other side. It doesn't matter as long as it's not in circle, actually. Like, it doesn't matter. You just don't bait it in circle. The reason is you just don't want that clutter there when he blows them up. And you have to find your rune, because you want to be in the middle of the runes right when the runes are hitting. I mean, if the reason isn't obvious, I'll explain it. It's because you want to like have an equivalent amount of time to get to any rune you could possibly get, right? Because you don't know which rune you will get. If you knew, that would be great, but you don't.
Radiant Tempest.
So, yeah, this pull, be careful here. I've actually died to this pull before. It is as silly as that sounds. If you're wasting your feathers or something and you have no movement for whatever reason, and you like take 1 extra second to like turn around or something, you will actually die there. So just be careful, be aware that you need to like run away immediately. And this is a good place to rupture, by the way. And if you have this weak aura, it's pretty nice because you can that was actually pretty close. We almost died to Quaking there, but we all managed to get it. You just turn to the door and you watch your weak aura. It's pretty helpful. I know it's silly, like, you know, it's like just look at the symbols, bro. It's not that hard, but sometimes it's kind of hard to see, honestly. So yeah, be careful. Also, 2 big damage segments that happen here is when he blows up these spears. Luckily for one of them, you will at least have this buff. For the first one, you don't. So just make sure people are topped up there before they're going for the runes. That's the most important part. You really can't do much else. What I do is, like, I try to apply atonements to everyone, and I'll put Shadow Fiend and send penance as I'm running to my thing. And that's kind of like the best you can do for your team. You can't really do much else, unfortunately. It's, you know, in terms of healing. And here, I actually ended up like being close to my rune, which was really good. I couldn't save him. I couldn't save him either. See, this is what I mean. Like, it's just really difficult to save people there. You don't really have time to be casting anything. You basically need to run yourself. You can pain sub though. You can pain sub, yeah. And this is another damage instance. So just like be careful when he does those. Like, obviously track the abilities and stuff, and make sure that you have like at least the radiance for that. I think that's like the only time you need the radiance in this fight. This is a very weird pathing to take, by the way. I kind of gambled there that we're not gonna get bold. And that's Halls of Valor. Well, you know, pretty chill key. hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys had fun listening to me ramble during the key. It's a long one, but I hope I managed to make it entertaining. You know, feel free to like, comment, subscribe if you're feeling extra crazy. Let me know what you think. And looking forward to seeing you guys again. Much love, guys. Good luck in your keys. Have a good one.